Okay. So, give me an overview about the music that's played in Acoustica Electronica.
So the idea of the show is to take classical music and take electronic music and kind of fuse it together. So we open with Carmen, which a lot of people are familiar with, just the classic story of Carmen, which goes into a piece by Bach. I'm actually blanking on the top of my head the rest of the pieces of the composers, but all of the music is based on classic pieces done by well-known classic composers.
Okay.
And so that's the basic gist and the basic structure of the show.
Okay. And how do they change the music of the composers? If you can elaborate on that a little bit.
Probably not the best person to elaborate on this, just because I'm not the one who actually created the music. Our pianist Athena is actually the one who made all the tracks and stuff. But what they basically do is they take the general principles and the general structure of the classic piece. In most cases, a lot of the notes and phrases are identical, and you can hear those underneath the electronic tracks that are kind of laid over it. So they're not really changing the original piece as much, but what they're doing is they're kind of infusing this electronic sound along with it to create this new idea and representation. The pieces aren't necessarily played in the same style and the same the dynamics and the phrasing maybe slightly altered, but the notes themselves remain the same.
Okay.
You know, so
Now, you're a conservatory student. You're learning about classical music, classical dance, classical types of singing, and everything like that. How has this spin on classical music differed from what you've learned in school and mixed it with what you do basically outside of school?
well, at the conservatory, we actually we're really blessed, I guess, to get a really wide like variety of education, and we're not only educated in the classical side of things, but we do have quite a bit that we do that's more on the contemporary side, in all the aspects of not only dance and singing, but also in acting as well. We do a lot of early stuff and then some more modern things as well. Um, I guess what we don't do is this new electronic sound is this kind of it's a very futuristic thing. It's almost looking ahead, I think, 10 years as to where music is going to be. Um, so it's not necessarily something that even really is much um, in culture and society today. So it's been interesting, just because it's been nice to kind of pay homage to this classical side of things and the original intention of the pieces, but at the same time kind of showing that it is okay to look outside the box and to really kind of apply a bit of ingenuity and kind of be a little bit more inventive. A lot of the classical, your really classically trained musicians and vocalists and stuff are a little shaky on the idea of altering these pieces just because they feel almost that it disrespects the pieces, but I beg to differ. I really think that what you're doing is you're actually opening this classic music to a whole new demographic of people who wouldn't necessarily hear it any other way because they don't understand um, what that classical music really entails and the discipline that has gone into creating it. But what you're doing is by making it more feasible and more, I guess, audibly um, inviting for them based upon their where they come from and what they consider to be quote cool, then you're really actually exposing it to a wider audience, and I think eventually you may create a more broad appreciation for the music.
Okay. And what is Acoustica Electronica doing to expand its? Because you just had your first two shows, and then that's it. Are you guys trying to get more shows at in Boston or anywhere else?
Well, yeah, actually, the American Repertory Theater is meeting on Thursday of this week to discuss potentially picking up the show for an extended run. I'm not exactly sure what that means. If that means that it would be every Friday in place of where Rocky Horror was at the Oberon Theater. So that was an option. I do also know that there was a couple of out of town backers that came to the our final performance on the 17th of February, and we're talking about potentially, I don't know exactly where those discussions were going, but as far as potentially taking it to other cities as well. I mean, it got some pretty amazing feedback, and we got some really great coverage in the local media and even in some broader um, media spectrums as well. A lot of magazines and a lot of online sources picked up some reviews and that sort of thing. So, I mean, who's to say where it's going to go? But I mean, I'm looking positive and trying to look up and look forward and hope that it takes off, because I really think that it's something that should be shared more so than just in the local Boston community.
All right, good. That's all.